Welcome to the Better Two podcast. I'm your host, Donna. Today's guest is Craig Fort. Craig, you may remember from the band Leaf Blower this summer. Well, now he's back with his new band called Lightning Stills, and the sound is completely different. So we talk about that, and we talk about sobriety, and well, so much more. So tune in. Hi, Craig. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So last time we saw you and your friend, besides Danny, we
This guy?
yeah, that guy. Uh-huh. So we have now completely switched gears. We are not talking leaf blower. We are talking lightning stills, and it's a completely different vibe, sound, everything. It's more traditional country, I would say,
A little bit
honky
in that
tonk.
direction.
Yeah. So why the diversity?
Why not?
Well, this is good. This is a true question, but do both types of music speak to you?
Yeah, all music speaks to me. I would play in there's so many different types of bands that I want to do and so many different projects that I already kind of have little things for in the future that I'd like to do. Music just speaks to me and it doesn't really, I'm not really dead set on, one genre. And I like playing leaf blower is, it's kind of like a therapy night. We get together and we play really loud and really aggressive and get some things out, and then this whole country project was I grew up on country with my grandpa and my dad, and they always played Waylon Willie and the Outlaws around me. And when I got sober, I needed something to keep me occupied instead of drinking or going out to the bar or anything like that. And luckily, I got sober right when COVID started, so I was kind of stuck at home. And so I just started writing country songs. And I figured, it seemed like the right thing to do at the time, I guess.
Well, and now you have music for it. You have a big sign there. So why the name Lightning Stills?
It comes from like when I was starting to come up with the idea for this, I was thinking of like a bootlegger or like a moonshiner, and so I went with the White Lightning moonshine stills, and so that's how I got the Lightning Stills name from it. So, and originally it was um it was kind of an alter ego. It was a character. I had a whole nudie suit that I made, and it was a rhinestone cowboy. And I used that kind of as an alter ego to help me get sober, I think. And then as the band went on, um, I couldn't take credit for all the music that was being made because the other guys were such pros. And so I just kind of wanted to move away from being the front person as a Lightning Stills and have it be more of band called Lightning Stills.
Understand. And when you're talking about this kind of alter ego thing, is this kind of where the he's not heavy, he's my dealer comes from?
That one, I mean, that's all these songs they're all true stories. They're all just me venting, getting things out. I lived at a bar for 10 years. I worked at a bar for 10 years. And all sorts of bar activity goes on.
This is true. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans, so I grew up with my grandfather taking me to the local bar. This was the 70s. It wasn't really like appalling at that point, especially in New Orleans. You bring your kid in the bar, it's fine. And there wasn't the rule of you can't have the kid sit at the bar itself. So I've spent a lot of times in bars as a kid, which I think as an adult made me more leery to spend time in bars.
When I
Um,
was a kid, I spent a lot of times in bars too because I'm from a small town. And so that's whenever we went out to eat, we went out to eat at the bar.
yeah. Yeah, the last town I lived in, that was kind of the way it was. They had a lot of restaurants that had bars, and people would hang out at the bar, and the families would eat at the table, but it was still a bar. Um, and I have to, actually commend you, and it's going to sound ridiculous, and you're going to think it's silly, but because of the interview with you and Danny, I ended up continuing to do my podcast with no wig because I was going through chemo
Oh,
at the
that's
time and
awesome.
I was bald and I was like mortified, and I ended up walking around owning it after that. It was like going anywhere I was bald. It didn't matter. I was okay with it.
Good for
So
you.
I thank you for bringing on the character because you were over the top. So I was like, "Oh, well, you know what? This is the time to do it." So I ended up doing it, and yeah, now my hair is coming back, but yeah, it was because of that podcast that I embraced it. So
That's really cool. That makes me feel good. I love that.
you know,
Good for
and I
you.
wanted to give you props because yeah, if you would have done that, most likely I wouldn't have embraced it. I would have still been trying to do the wig, and the wig is still here on top of the mic stand where the last time I took it off is. So I want to talk a little bit about. I know you
My wig's
had
still here too.
um, Mama wants a love song. So did Mama really want a love song, or
She did, yeah. It was like I said, these are all true stories. So she called me up and we put out a 5 song EP, and then we put out a couple singles before we got to this point. And when I was writing the songs for this album, she called me up and she was like, enough with the drinking and drugging already. Like, write a love song for your wife. You've got a sweet wife. Like, write a love song for her. What are you doing? And so as I was thinking of how uncomfortable that made me at the time, to make myself that vulnerable, and I was like, I can't do this. That's a love song. Like, that's not my style. Like, I've never written anything like that. And then I started thinking, I was like, well, why don't I just write a song about this? And so then I wrote a song about that. And then with the music video, it was, like I said, it wasn't intended to be a love song. But then with the music video, I think it kind of turned itself into a love song, not necessarily for my wife like she originally asked for, but a love song for my mom and all the moms out there.
what'd your mom think?
When she was dropping off my boys after they were spent the night at her house, and I said, "Hey, I just got my test press in the mail. I got this song I want to show you." And so I put it on, and about like 30 seconds into it, she came over and gave me a hug and had
Oh,
her arm around me for the rest of the song.
nice, nice,
She loved the video too. She thought it was really sweet.
awesome. So, she got her love song. And then now you have, of course, the Gas Me Up song. So, what was the inspiration behind that? I know you say everything's a true story, but, Gas Me Up just, somebody could eat a lot of beans and they could be gassy, but, it could be about a car. It could be about numerous things. So,
It was just more about putting a little pep in my step, I think. When I was at the bar for those 10 years, there was lots of trips out to the car for various reasons, whether it was to get positive or a little lift, or someone was like, hey, I just recorded some songs. I want to put some ears on it. You guys want to go out to my car and hear it? Like there's a bunch of different reasons why we would go out to the car, but it seemed like car trips were like a big thing, at least at the bar that I was at. And it was kind of fun, like we had different reasons for going. And so this song is just kind of about that, like, going to the bar, going out to the car, coming back in, getting another round, getting your night going, energized.
how different is your life now that you decided to go, you left the bar life and you decided to be sober? How hard has life been for you? Has it been more of a challenge?
No, I mean, there's definitely challenges constantly that I've faced. But I mean, I there's no way I could go back to it. If I went back to that, I would die for sure. My kids wouldn't have a dad. But like it's a total flip-flop because I went from, being up till the sun came up every night, and being at the bar all day, and then my son was born and I got a job that paid insurance and benefits and everything like that. And that got me up at 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning. So I had to be there at 6. And so it like completely flipped my schedule around. And then I was still drinking at that point. But I qu quit going to the bars. So I was just drinking at home. And then it started getting bad. And that's why I ended up having to quit. But it's just what that getting that job and starting to get up early and flipping that routine, getting out of the being up all night was a good start for me. And then 5 years, I've been at that job for 11 years now. And 5 years into it is when I got sober. And uh, like I said, it wasn't as bad as I expected because it was during COVID. Literally, right when I got out of treatment, they're like locked down. No one goes anywhere. And so I was like, well, this is going to keep me out of the bar. That's all right. So just sat in my basement and recorded songs.
You know, my dad would never admit to being an alcoholic. My dad had a garage since I was a kid, and it was named a social club. It was his garage and social club, which pretty much says, especially in New Orleans, what that means. So at 5 o'clock,
Sure.
people would come pick up their cars, and then the party would commence. And this was his life. He would get up, then he'd come home pretty well tanked, and then get up at 5 o'clock and go to the shop and continue to work, and then same cycle over and over again. And he was in his late 60s, and he went down to the corner coffee shop and had a massive heart attack and stroke. And
Wow.
that, well, but the thing is, he survived both, and he didn't have any real impairments, except for his hearing. But for the most part, my dad's sober now. He was always functioning, though. My dad could stop drinking for days and then just go back right to it. So he was a
Yeah.
functioning alcoholic, and he will never say, and including his girlfriend will never say he was an alcoholic. But I grew up with him. He went from no alcohol at all to being the party guy. So
Yeah.
your kids, whether you realize it or not, will notice that, and I'm sure they have.
Right, and that's the other thing is I ended up getting sober when my kids were young enough, and before I met my wife, and I have two more stepkids, and it's it's a big change going from playing in four bands and being at the bar every night to having four kids, four goats, four cats, a dog, a
Mm-hmm.
wife. A job you've been at for 11 years, two bands, like it's a lot different, but I keep myself busy and I keep myself out of trouble, and that's what I need. So,
Well, and it gives you a different perspective about life. I mean, when I was single and then I had two stepkids all of a sudden, and then I was single again, my life perspective when I had the kids was totally different than me as a single woman.
oh yeah, it completely changes.
And I don't think most people realize how much kids can alter you.
It's just night and day. Like as soon as I had my first kid, I mean, and it's like you just said too. It's not just maternal kids, it's like stepkids too. Like you
Mhm.
can completely flip your life upside down, but in the best way.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I had a ready-made family of a 4 and a 6-year-old girl. I mean, one was 4, one was 6. I mean, that I missed the bad diaper part, but I had the fun part, the creative
Right.
part, the inspirational part. And then yeah, I left before they hit teenage years. So I didn't have the angsty teen. Well, I did for a brief weekend, but yeah, because my ex says, "Hey, can you come on down and have a real talk with her?" Okay. Sure, I can do that. But I mean, it's one of those things where it's like kids change your perspective on how you look. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Beavis and Butthead was out at the time, and I we didn't have cable because we lived in Indiana in a small town. And my sister-in-law sends me this Beavis and Butthead thing, and I'm like mortified because my kid, oh my gosh. And then after I was no longer a mom, and I'm watching it, it was funny as anything. But it was one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like, as a parent, you're looking at, well, they couldn't watch that. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. I'm sorry. Um, so when you talk about spirits, was that about the alcohol spirits or was that about ghosts?
It was about that. It was a play on words for both, I guess.
That's what
It
I
was
thought.
it was the alcohol spirits, but it was also that song is kind of about like when there would be times where my drinking would cause just such heavy depression that I would just like hide out in my room and not answer the door, not answer my phone, just stay in my room and drink and watch TV and be by myself. And I just would, for no reason, like I would make things up in my head thinking that people were mad at me, so then I would hide, like it was addiction is a crazy thing. And so that's this spirit song is kind of about that. It's kind of just being haunted in your room and being stuck there with not being able to get away, break free from this bottle, the evil spirits that are inside of it.
And that's why I asked, because I mean, last time we talked, we did talk about spirit hauntings a little bit last time. So I mean,
Oh, sure.
that's one of the reasons why I wanted a clarification, because I figured, yes, it was about the alcohol. And yeah, I did catch the fact that you were talking about basically bed planting, where you weren't getting out of bed. And that can happen for many reasons. And addiction is one of those things. And depression is definitely one of those things where it's like you feel trapped. You don't know how to get out of your own way or get out of your own head. And this weekend I lost. Okay, so beginning of January, I lost my cat. This weekend, I lost one of my dogs, and with everything going on in the world, I was so, as I lack of a better way to put it, was emotionally constipated. I couldn't
Oh,
cry, even though I wanted to cry. I couldn't cry, and I know most people are like, "How is that possible?" So what I did is the most ridiculous thing in the world. I went. There's a movie when I was a kid called Brian Song about Gail Sayers um, in the Chicago Bears. And I wasn't my football kid or anything, but my parents made me watch it, which they shouldn't have. Now looking back, but I cried at the movie. I cried at the end of that movie. So I found it online and I watched it, and sure enough, still made me cry. But that's the thing. Sometimes when we're so depressed, despondent, however you want to describe it, we lock ourselves away because somebody else may be judging us, or they may think it's wrong, or and it's hard.
even if they're not,
Yeah. Even if they're not in
like,
our heads, we are.
and speaking of my mom, I feel horrible for her because I had moved when I turned 18, I got the heck out of the small town that I was in and moved to Omaha. And you know, then for the next 10 years or 15 years or whatever, there would be patches in there where I wouldn't answer my phone, and she would be one of them. And then it would get to the point where I would be like, oh, it's been too long since I haven't talked to her, and she's called so many times. And then I would get like anxiety about that. And then it would make me really not want to answer the phone. And so then it was like I had to like just break through and call her and be like, I'm sorry, I'm just in a funk.
And
And
that's,
then get
well, it's funny because when my husband was alive and he used to go through these bouts because he knew he was dying, we had this little thing called a blue panda. So if he didn't want to talk about what was bothering him, or I didn't want to talk, the blue panda would be placed on the table and we would not discuss it until we were ready. And I think that's the one thing, if you, especially when you're in a relationship, if you can give yourself that grace of having something to say, I can't right now.
yeah.
And
Sometimes
then,
you just need some time.
yeah. And I'm sure your mom understood once you started talking to her again. I'm sure, but our mind will not allow us. It makes us feel like a failure. And how do we get past this? And we how do we break that cycle? And how do we step into that?
And then, well, of course, her being a mother and not being able to get a hold of her kid in a different town, she's worrying and thinking the worst thoughts and, you know,
I went through that with my grandmother and my mom, because my mom, near her death, she called my grandmother and she called me. And she told me she was going to do it, and she didn't answer the phone. And she played this game with us from 6 months before for a whole month. And when she finally did it, because my grandmother had a heart condition, we couldn't tell her on the phone. So I had to get on the phone with her and lie. I lied to my
oh
grandmother,
no.
and I am telling her, oh, I'm sure she's fine, even though I knew my mom was dead.
Right.
until we could get down to New
That's tough.
Orleans. And it's tough. And but it's one of those things where she was worried and we don't think about those things. We don't think about
Mhm.
even if you're estranged from somebody, we don't think about how they may be checking in to see if you're okay.
Right, exactly. You think the world's against you, but there's actually people reaching out and trying to
Yeah.
get a hold of you.
Yeah. And so you have to try to engage again. And I know it's hard. And if anybody's listening that's having a hard time, you know, try to reach out to somebody because you're going to be surprised that they're actually going to be like, wait a second.
And if someone's reaching out to you, maybe listen to them and let them help,
Yeah.
because that's definitely something that, or I had people that would reach out to me and try and have a talk with me about what I was doing, and I would, blow them off and go try to drink, and so it's a vicious cycle that is just continued by alcohol. You think, and I'm not telling anyone to stop drinking, that's not anything what I'm about. I think people can drink and not have a problem with it, but I can't. Um, I know that I can't, and it's just, once it starts, then it's just a cycle of, this is bad. Well, why is it so bad? I'm going to drink because it's bad, and then it's keeps going. It's bad because you're drinking, and then I'm going to drink because it's bad. It's bad because you're drinking.
Well, and for a lot of people, they feel good when they're drinking. They don't think about the crash that comes with it. They feel good.
Right. It's just that instant gratification.
Well, they're saying now statistically that actually alcohol sales are now down.
Yeah, I think that the newer generation just isn't really drinking as much. And I've been drinking, and I hear that from like bar owners and venues and clubs that we play at and stuff like that. They say the kids will come out to the shows, but they're not drinking, so the bar's not making as much money as it used to with our generation, who would come out and just get shit-faced.
Rarely, I had because of my dad and my grandfather, and I had an uncle die of being hit by a drunk driver. I was always the person that would show up before cover and drink water. Sometimes I would have a Coke. If there was a two drink minimum, I'd buy it. But I was really staunch against drinking and driving because of that. But that
Mm.
was just me. And I, I knew people that would go to the bar, like you said, and get shit faced. They would totally get annihilated. And we had a really strange friend who was an engineer, a mechanical engineer, and he got shit faced one night. And we're like, "You can't drive." He's like, "Yeah, I can." We're like, "No, you can't." And so he's like, "Ask me a square root." He was spot on with square roots of numbers and everything, but he was drunker than anything.
Yeah.
Like, no, dude, we're driving you home. You'll be fine. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's almost a better, I mean, it is what it is. But I definitely have had my fair share of drinking and driving, and
Mhm.
I'm very lucky that I didn't have anything bad happen because of it. I was arrested because of it, but I didn't have any like crashes or accidents or anything like that. So it's just kind of a selfish thing to do, like looking back at it, because there's so many people that you're putting in danger, not just yourself.
Oh, well,
And
there,
so
and
many people it affects.
well, like my dad, he would have these big parties. He lived in Slidell, which is about an hour away from the West Bank where we lived at. And he would have these parties and then he'd drive me home drunk. And I look back at this and think, well, Dad, I've never called him on it. I've never said anything to him
It
about
was a
it.
different time.
Yeah. But I'm just like, how dangerous was that?
Right. It was
But
definitely a different time.
yeah. And he was a retired fireman. So if he would have got pulled over, professional courtesy.
Oh yeah, of course for that.
Hmm.
It's funny that you said the thing earlier about the movie they shouldn't have showed you, because we've been running across that with our four kids. We've got like 7, 10, 13, 15, 16 now. And so getting to the age where I'm like, hey, I want to start showing them some of these movies that I watched when I was a kid, you know? And so then I put them on, and then I'm like, whoa, this is definitely not
Well, I mean,
what I remembered it being.
well, that was the thing. I had seen Brian's song sometime in the 90s, and yet it still seemed like a completely different movie. And here it is. The reason why I say they shouldn't let, I would have been about five or six. So the man has cancer. The man has lung cancer. The man is dying. The man's wife is there and she's bawling her eyes. So there's like heavy emotional things.
Sure, that's
Great.
a lot.
There's a great friendship between Brian Piccolo and Gail Sayers, but you know,
That's
everything
heavy.
else. Yeah. It's like Benji. Benji was an ultimate kids movie. Everybody wanted to go see Benji. When Benji's little companion dog gets kicked down the stairs, everybody's mortified. But we're showing this to kids because, hey,
Right. All the kids saw that movie when it came out.
yeah, I bawled my eyes out when I thought that little dog died, you know?
Yeah, that was
But hey, give it to your kids to watch. But that's the thing we don't, especially looking back, we forget those movies, even though we have them so ingrained in our mind, like Apple Dumpling Gang. That was the best movie. I tried watching it again as an adult. Yeah, it's not. But at the time it was.
Yeah.
So, do you have any plans to do some gigs for the Lightning Stills group?
Yeah, we got our release show is gonna be February 20th at the Slowdown in Omaha, Nebraska, and it's gonna be with our buddy's Face. And the singer of Face played drums on this record. He was our old drummer, and he got busy with his profession and with his other bands. And so he moved on, and we got our new buddy Matt Baum playing drums with us now. And so we invited Javid's other band to come play with us. And then we got our buddy Fletch, Mike Schlesinger opening up the gig. So it should be a really, really good time. And then we got another, gosh, I don't have the date on me, but we got another show coming up with Clarence Tilton and Black Cat Rodeo at the same place. Slow down about 2 months later. So
So you're going to be busy. And are you doing any more with Leaf Blower? I know this isn't about Leaf Blower, but you know it's still part of your band. So
we're writing right now. We just had practice last night, and we're in the middle of writing a couple new songs. So we don't have any shows for that one yet, but we're not opposed to them. So I'm sure if someone asks us, we'll get hopped on a show here pretty soon.
well, and everything is just kind of in flux right now. Everything seems a little off in the world right now. So, you know,
Yeah,
take it day by
yeah,
day.
right, exactly. You just kind of got to see where everything is gonna end up.
So, what is your favorite track on Lightning Stills?
Oh, you know,
I know you can't pick one. I
it's
understand.
tough.
I know.
It's I would say um it's between Mama and Close Down the Bar are my two favorites probably. Mama Wants a Love Song and Close Down the Bar are I just there's Close Down the Bar is super fun for me, and I think that's just of it. That song came to me. We were at a movie theater watching a George Jones like celebration of life type thing. There was a bunch of people up there doing covers of his songs, and it was a one night only thing at a movie theater. And they were doing interviews between the gigs, and they one of the performers was talking about how George used to close down this bar. And in my head, I started thinking, I was like, oh, well, I closed down the bar when I quit drinking. And then I was like, it was like a Dewey Cox light bulb moment came on. Like, I was like, and then I was loving the movie that was going on. I was there with my wife, and but I could not wait to get home and put pen to paper and get going on that. And as I just the ideas were just flying through my head. I was putting little stuff in my notes on my phone, like secretly, like in the movie theater.
Unfortunately, the connection dropped between Craig and I, and he didn't come back. So, and that could have been because I said I had a limited amount of time. So, unfortunately, the episode was cut short, and I do apologize. I enjoyed talking to Craig. We had a great conversation. And If you want classic country music, I would definitely say check out Lightning Stills because it does have that Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings feel. It has that old formula of country. It's not so much country pop. So you definitely should check it out. As far as his sobriety, I commend him for following through and keeping it up. And that's the thing when you are going through depression, as we were talking about, sometimes you do just want to stay in bed and you don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to reach out to anybody. I kind of, for me personally, I kind of make it a practice to reach out to people because I know that it is a cycle and you can get stuck in it. And the last thing I want, because of having what my mom, having my friends worry about me because of what I went through with my mom, I don't want to put anybody through that. I don't want anybody to sit there and wonder, well, what happened? So I try to take that action, but sometimes it's just too hard for other people. And you have to accept that and you have to come at them with compassion and grace and allow them to have their moments of being in solitude. And you have to allow yourself to be compassionate and to have empathy for them. Because sometimes when we're going through something, we don't want to let everybody else know. And going through my own journey last year with cancer, there was those moments of I thought of why am I doing this? Why am I continuing on? What is the point of all this? But I made it through and I will continue to make it through. And I think Craig will too. So find what keeps you going, find what inspires you. And I so wanted to ask him and talk to him about that inspiration moment. So maybe next time, because I'm sure he'll come back. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for tuning in as always. I'd like to thank Fast Susie for the intro and outro music. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in whenever you're listening, morning, noon, or night. I greatly appreciate it. And well, I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye.